Hey guys, this is JAde with Dallas Jamming, and today we're going to be talking about the best groove boxes out right now. So a groove box is a device that lets you make a complete song in it. It would have a track for drums, a track for melody, bass, you name it. You'd be able to switch patterns, save presets, change songs, and things of that nature. So the first groove box I want to talk about, we're going to go from cheapest to most expensive because everybody's budget is different. The first one I want to talk about is the NOVATION circuit. So the NOVATION circuit's been out for a while. It has 2 polyphonic tracks and 1 drum track. And the sounds on it, I'm not the biggest fan of the NOVATION Ultra Nova sound, but it does the job. You can tweak the sounds. You can't really see what you're tweaking. That's one of the main issues that people complain about. The knobs aren't labeled or anything, but for the price, I think it's a great starting point. Workflow is very straightforward. I feel the sequencer is the selling point for the NOVATION circuit. It's very hands-on, very intuitive, very visual. It's easy to see when you're building patterns and chaining them. Building 8-bar patterns is very easy to do, and you can use it to sequence other synths. If you don't like the internal sounds, you can do that as well. If you're just not getting into hardware and don't want to invest in an expensive sequencer and a bunch of external synths, a groove box is definitely the way to go. Also for commutes, just having a small machine that can do it all. A groove box is a great piece of hardware to have regardless. The second groove box I want to talk about is the Korg ELECTRIBE series. So the ELECTRIBE 2. I know the original ELECTRIBEs are just as great and maybe even greater, but we're just going to talk about new devices because of the ease of getting your hands on them, and not everybody likes to buy vintage gear. So the ELECTRIBE comes in 2 series. They have the sampler and they have the synth version. The synth version gives you a lot more sounds. The sampler version lets you load your own sounds. I myself had the sampler version. It was like my first real groove box. The sampler version made a great drum machine. I just loaded it up with one shots, vocal shots, and you still get the main waveforms that you would do with the synth version. And honestly, I feel like those are really the main sounds that I used anyways, just the waveforms. So I would definitely get the sampler version if you're looking for more of a drum machine and being able to add your own vocals. If not, the synth version is good too. They added the possibility to change patterns, which was a big deal and one of the most requested features. It sounds great. I feel like the sequencer on the circuit is a lot better than that one, but plugging a keyboard to both will open up what you can do with these machines. And feature-wise, the ELECTRIBE kills the circuit for sure. You got the XY pad to mess with the arpeggiator and all types of effects. Everything is labeled so you can really see what you're doing. You have 16 tracks with 24-note polyphony. So with the circuit, you're just getting 2 tracks. Here you have a lot more. It's hard to decide which one is better because you really have to figure out which kind of workflow do you like. I felt the ELECTRIBE was a lot more capable, but I had a lot more fun with the circuit. So you really want to watch some videos. There's this great artist named SCHTANG that used the Korg ELECTRIBE and pretty much just uses that in some vocals, and he makes some killer beats. I always find amazing what this guy can do with an ELECTRIBE. He's obviously put in the time. This is his main groove box, and he's done this for over a year, and it just keeps getting better and better. That just goes to show you put in the time, and then the good jams will start popping out. Okay, the next groove box I want to talk about is the DIGITAKT. I know the DIGITAKT is a sampler and a sequencer, but you can use some of those sample tracks to upload waveforms and essentially have a groove box where you can mangle, create, add vocals, and you also get an 8-track sequencer. It's not really officially a groove box because it doesn't have a built-in sound engine, but we'll just add it to the list because a lot of people like the DIGITAKT. It's small, it's portable, and it's possible to make it a groove box. The next one I want to talk about is the OP1, of course. The OP1 is the greatest groove box out there, in my opinion. You get a whole track dedicated to drums, you get effects, you get a sampler. Watch my video on the OP1 if you haven't. OP1 for the win. The next one is the Analog 4. Oh snap, look at that, oh snap. Analog 4 just dropped in the house. Analog 4 is a great groove box, but I do want to go ahead and point this out. I wouldn't say it's the best groove box because, number one reason, they really advertise it as a polyphonic synth, but in reality you get 4 mono tracks. And let's say you want to make one of those tracks a drum track. At some point you're going to want to layer a drum, a kick, some hats all in that one track. But by doing that, you're going to be stealing voices from the other tracks. So I wouldn't call it the best groove box out there. It's possible to make drum sounds and melody sounds at the same time, but you are sacrificing some things in comparison to the OP1, which is, like, in my idea, the most full-featured groove box out there. You get a whole track for drums, you can add polyphonic tracks, overdub, and the possibilities are just endless. The synth engine on the A4 though is amazing. It's analog. You get 4-voice analog polyphony, but you really got to get the idea out of your head that it's a polyphonic synth. You can use it as a polyphonic synth. Let's say you're on track 1 and you use your 4-note polyphony on that track. You don't have any more polyphony for the rest of the tracks. So in my opinion, it's not the greatest groove box. To me, it's the synth with an amazing sequencer that can be used as 4 amazing sequencers. In my opinion, the analog rhythm would probably be considered a better groove box than the analog 4, because essentially you could have a kick, a snare, hat, and then still have a whole bunch of other sounds to add on, vocals, all types of other things that you could add on. So in my opinion, the rhythm would be more of a groove box than the A4, but the A4's synth engine is very amazing. Just like with the DIGITAKT, I guess I gotta mention the MPC Live, because some people are gonna be like, oh, why not the MPC Live? You mentioned the DIGITAKT. Alright, MPC Live could obviously make some synth sound too with the waveforms that are sample based. I guess you could consider that a groove box if it's the only machine that you have. There's a lot of old amazing groove boxes that you could get for the low, like the RC303. That's a great groove box to start if if you're on a budget and you don't know if this is something that you want to invest in. I really do suggest starting with one of the cheaper groove boxes and seeing if this is something that you want to do. With some of the cheaper groove boxes, if you're coming from a DAW, you're immediately going to feel like it's very limited. To get the advanced features that you get from a DAW, you're really going to have to spend a little more and get something that can give you all the things that you're used to from a DAW. Because with something like the NOVATION circuit, you're going to feel very limited just having 2 melodic tracks and 1 drum track. But sometimes limitations are good, and no matter what, it's a lot better to have a piece of hardware that has you focused on what you're doing than being on the DAW, of course, and messing on Facebook and YouTube and whatever, being distracted. So that's why groove boxes are amazing. They let you create whole songs in that one device without having to reach for anything else. It's very easy to make a performance with just a groove box and a keyboard or two and really feel like there's transitions going on and you're not playing a 4-bar loop over and over again, but you actually have a song that's building patterns that are chaining and making changes and things like that. So yeah, that's my video on the top groove boxes out right now. Let me know if I missed any. Let me know which one you're using, which one's your favorite. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and support a sister on Patreon if you can. Catch you later.